Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for yet more dedicated legacy action. If I've got my timings right, this should be the first video of the new year, so Happy New Year everyone. And with Depth December behind us, we're going to be playing a mono-white painter deck. Now if you've watched my channel, you know that I play mono-white painter in paper and I sort of like to tinker around with it. And we're trying a pretty big experiment with it today. We're playing the Restoration of Eiganjo here as one of our key cards. If you're unfamiliar with this card, what it does: 3 mana, you search your library for a planes, put it into your hand. Pretty decent. We got enough planes. That's going to usually find us a card. We're not going to run out of planes too easily. The second part of this is you discard a card. When you do, you can return target permanent card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to play. It comes in tapped though. So you can go and get one of your like Painter's Servant or your Stoneforge Mystic or your Oswald Fiddlebender, and this all plays around counter magic when this happens. Also, you can just discard a land and it comes back. From this, alternatively, you can City of Traitors. This land will not die if you bring back a land with Restoration of Eiganjo. So there's a little bit of synergy here that seems quite good. And then once you've done those two phases, the third one, it flips into a 3/4 Vigilance that makes a 1/1 whenever it attacks or blocks, which is going to massively improve the quality of the Umezawa's Jitte that we have in our deck. So this is kind of one of the big cards here. This allows us to add to the board, and it can bring back things that may have been countered. Later on, it's going to be a pretty good top deck because it's going to get us a lot more utility from our graveyard. So I'm hoping this is going to be a good card. I played with it once before in something that I didn't actually put on the channel. And it was basically the best card in the deck. Obviously, that deck wasn't a very good deck I was playing, but this card felt like legacy power level. So I want to try it out in the sort of more generic painter shell. Now, to go with this, we've got things that you're expecting to see in White Painter. So we've got Mother of Runes to protect our painter. We've got the Painter's Servants. We've got the Grindstones. If you're unfamiliar with this combo, Painter's Servant and Grindstone just mills out your opponent when you activate the Grindstone, because all the cards in the library will be the same color, because that's what Painter's Servant does. It changes the color of everything. Anyway, so we've got these. We have the 4 Urza Sagas, which can go and find us things like Grindstone, Pithing Needle, Shadowspear, Soulguard Lantern. So it finds part of our combo, so we need 3 Grindstones there. The package for the Stoneforge Mystic with the 1 Kaldra and the 1 Umezawa's Jitte, you can go find Shadowspear as well if you need to, but you're mainly just trying to deploy these big threats. We have a 1 of Canonist. In some builds you will see up to 3 of these usually. I'm only running 1 because we need to squeeze in these restorations to test with, so I thought let's give that a whirl. So Oswald Fiddlebender is really the glue of this deck if you're unfamiliar with it. It's basically 2 mana Birthing Pod artifacts. So you get this guy out and then you can turn your Lotus Petals or your artifact lands into 1-drops, like Grindstone for example, or you can turn your 1-drops into 2-drops, like Painter's Servant. We don't really have a chain to keep going up. We're mainly just sort of trying to turn 0s into 1s and 1s into 2s for the most part. Now, we've got a couple of other cards that you may not be too familiar with. This is Serra Paragon. It's 2 white for a 3/4 flyer, and once during each of your turns, you may play a land from your graveyard or cast a permanent spell with mana 3 or less from your graveyard. If you do, it gains when it dies. It goes into exile and you gain 2 life. So this can rebuy pretty much any of these things here. So we can use it to rebuy Restoration of Eiganjo for like a really big way of just generating new resources. We can rebuy halves of our combo. We can rebuy our Fiddlebenders that have been killed or Stoneforge Mystics, etc, etc. So we can do a lot with this, as well as getting lands. So we can use these wastelands. We only have 2 wastelands in this deck because we had tried to fit in these colorless lands. So we have these 2 wastelands that we can also rebuy with Serra Paragon if necessary. Alternatively, we can do some stuff with Restoration of Eiganjo to rebuy wastelands in matchups where that's good. Now, whether this is going to be enough, we don't know. That's why we're testing it. The other thing I'd like to mention is normally the white painter decks don't play much acceleration. They're sort of like they're 1-drops of like Esper Sentinel, Mother of Runes, Ether Vial, that sort of thing. So we don't have some of those 1-drops anymore. We're just sticking to the Mother of Runes, which I think is the strongest one, and then some tutor targets and a little bit of removal when sourced to Plowshares, because I think you have to run a bit more removal these days. And we have this one unusual thing in Chromatic Star. Sometimes with your Urza Saga, you just want to draw a card, and because we've added in 6 colourless lands here, well, technically adding in 4 because normally you'd have 4 wastelands, but so we've added in some colourless lands, which means we might need a little bit of filtering, and this is just the thing that can draw us a card that we can also replay with the Serra Paragon. And it can hopefully just do a little bit of something, can bring it together. So this could have been just another source of Plowshares, but again, this is trying to test out and see the limits of what we can do and how good these cards are. So we're going to sort of push it and see how much value we can get out of this new package that we're trying out. Now, one of the reasons I want to try this out is because regular mono white painter has suffered a bit in the initiative metagame. Now, we could just go down the route of playing initiative cards ourselves and just having an initiative deck with a painter, like, win condition built into it as well. But that's not that synergistic, really. Like, yes, you do complete the Throne of the Dead 3 and you might be able to find a painter because you're looking at 10 cards. But I think it's better to try and keep more like the standard sort of GrindStoneForge shell here and see how we can sort of pull it. So adding these extra mana sources, so we've got Petals, Ancient Tombs, and City of Traitors, we can combo quicker, so hopefully we can race initiative decks and those sorts of matchups. That's more or less it for the main deck. So there's quite a lot we're looking at to see how it fares and whether or not this is a route we should continue going down, but it should be worth testing, which is what we're trying to do here. And it's, you know, it's fun to see cards you don't see often in Legacy. So sideboard wise, a couple more removal spells and sorts of Plowshares to complement our suite of 2 and the portable hole in the main. We've got 3 Containment Priests, which is going to be our sort of graveyard hate of choice. This one is something that we can bring back with Restoration of Eiganjo nicely. It's also something that can be cheated out a little bit early with the Lotus Petals. So it may be quite good. Again, we're doing it so we can test it and sort of see how it lies. The 3 more Canonists. The reason I like these is they're bad against 8-cast, obviously, but 8-cast isn't around that much. And they're not actually that good against Storm, but they're okay. It means they kind of have to just keep doing like Artifact into Galvanic Relay rather than being able to just sort of loop many things. So, you know, it's still fine against Storm. It's not as good as something like Deafening Silence, though. But this is much better against Elves, and regular sort of combo Elves have taken quite a big uptick in the last few weeks. So I'm curious to try this one out. We have 3 Spirit of the Labyrinth, which if we can play on turn 1 through a Lotus Petal, is a much more powerful card than playing on turn 2. And it can also really jam up, obviously, Brainstorm decks and some combo decks. But it's very good against specifically Doomsday, which is not a great matchup for Mono White Painter. So again, I wanted to try it out, so here we are. We have 3 March of Otherworldly Lights, because sometimes there's all manner of things you need to blow up. This is one of the better ways of doing it, and because we've got these Soul Lands as well, the X cost shouldn't be too bad for it. And we have 1 Batterskull for when we need other threats or lifelinky things. So I want this in just as another thing against the Initiative, for example, but sometimes against Control decks, just having another threat is quite nice. So we're testing a whole bunch of stuff here, and some of it won't work, I'll tell you that now. But some of it will, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, and we're playing some cool cards. So that's about it. So before we jump into the league, let me just say, if you're new to my channel, why not give me a subscribe? Doesn't cost you anything, really helps me out, and it means you won't miss any of this dedicated Legacy action that I'm putting out like 5 times a week. And likes and comments from everyone else, sounds great to me. Okay, let's jump into a league with Restoration Painter. So this is our opening hand. It's a little bit awkward because of this Ancient Tomb, to be honest. But we've got a little bit of removal and interaction. We've got the harder part of our combo to find usually. And we've got Stoneforge Mystic, which is just a solid plan on its own. So we're going to keep this. Our opponent is a 60-card deck, so probably not Oops All Spells. Oh, it's Julian. Okay, so this is going to be a Painter Mirror. So we might be able to get our opponent here with a Grindstone later on. So we are going to remove this Goblin Welder. Goblin Welder is too powerful of a card to leave in play in the Painter deck. So our plan now is to play out Urza Saga and Stoneforge Mystic, and then just slowly tick down and get our Grindstone, because our opponent is going to struggle to Painter us a little bit underneath that. Okay, so they've got a Grindstone. So we can't play out our Painter, otherwise we lose the game. Worth noting. So we have this Serra Paragon. I think that's really going to be doing a lot for us right now. So let's smash this down, and we'll play out our Stoneforge Mystic. So we have options here. We can go and get the Kaldra, or we can go and get the Jitte. I think here, because the only creatures we can really equip a Jitte to are things like Painters, really. I think we're just best off getting the Kaldra. This might force a Fury out of our opponent and get a nice little 2-for-1. Okay, just a Lightning Bolt, sure. So we got a 2-for-1 off of this because you have the Kaldra in hand, but whether or not we're going to be able to deploy this to make that matter is going to be remain to be seen, I think. But now we can just play an Urza Saga game. Okay, so our opponent is on the Cast Simian Spirit Guide plan. I see. So I think we are on the... So we could just play out the Urza Saga here, or we could play out the Serra Paragon here and then immediately replay our Lotus Petal. Quite like that strategy there. Let's cast this for 2, white, white. So we can play this, and then as soon as this comes into play, we immediately get the Lotus Petal. We can't cast the Stoneforge Mystic because there's only once per turn. But this is fine. So this can go and get us the grindstone, and we can grind our opponent first, if that's the thing we want to do. But we shall see. The Serra Paragon should provide so much value, though. An Ancient Tomb. Sure. If they're holding all their mana open, that's a little bit concerning for us. So we got this coming off here. So I think we're just going to make a token here. We don't really need to try and win using the Painter combo right now. So I think we can just Pithing Needle the Grindstone here. And they don't have a welder in play right now to flip it around. And we can replay the Urza Saga and just keep making loads and loads of tokens and get more and more advantage here. So we're in a pretty strong position. I think the way we lose is if we try and like do some sort of Painter combo, they Pyroblast us back and then untap and Painter us. So my plan here is to make some tokens and then get a Pithing Needle, replay the Saga, and just keep going. Now we could also just wasteland our opponent, but this still takes one of the playing a land slots for your turn. So that would be a slower plan, but we can do that for the next couple of turns while we've got this going on. So we'll Pithing Needle, Grindstone. This also conceals the Grindstone from our opponent. So we could play this, or we could play the... I think we are just going to play the Saga here. It's just too strong a play. Just recurring Sagas over and over again is going to be very strong. We could play out the Painter, but that means our opponent only needs a Pyroblast to win the game, and I'd rather not put myself in that sort of position. It should also be noted that this Lotus Petal, when it dies, it will exile, but it also gain me 2 life. So if we end up in a race, the life from the Serra Paragon is probably going to be pretty good here. And the Urza Saga will gain us 2 life as well when it pops out. Now we only get 1 additional go with the Saga because it exiles when it dies, because of the Paragon's ability, but still, getting 2 goes at a Saga is pretty nice. Okay, so there is the Painter Servant. So if our opponent has a Pyroblast now, we're in trouble. So we kind of need this to tick down and get ourselves a Grindstone. Okay, so what is the best way of stopping our opponent from being able to Grindstone us out if they have a Pyroblast? We're playing out this, and life totals aren't the most important right now, but this gets us a token. We can't deal lethal damage, so we're kind of at the mercy of a Pyroblast from our opponent here. We can wasteland a tomb, but they're still going to have 3 mana, so if they Pyroblast and untap and grind us, there's nothing we can do about it. So I think we are just attacking. I think we probably play out. We don't want to go down on white mana here is the issue. Oh, I guess we got the Lotus Petal actually, so we can do that. So I think we play out the Shadowspear first. We're not going to equip it this turn. We're just going to bash with our lads. So attack with these, and we can make another construct before damage. So this will be 9, put our opponent to 6. So our opponent's Ancient Tomb, a big source of their mana. If they have the mana to do it, that's fine. I think I would rather waste their artifact here, because that doesn't take them off Metalcraft, unfortunately, but it does give them less red sources and less artifacts for the future. Sure. If we get Pyroblasted here, that's going to be less than ideal for us here. So we can play out the Stoneforge if we had another mana source, but we don't. Okay, so they have the Pyroblast here. We will replay this, because our opponent didn't do it in the end step. Now this might not be good enough. Our opponent might just have another Pyroblast. If they got a second Pyroblast, we lose. So that was an error from our opponent, unless they have another Pyroblast here and they just wanted to tap all our mana. They did have another Red Blast. Okay. How do we get out of this one? Might be tricky. Yep, I think we have to concede this one. So we could have got the Grindstone ourselves, but then our opponent doesn't play the Painter until they have enough mana to play and go off. So we could just play like a little Painter thing, but I didn't expect my opponent to have double Red Blast in hand. Okay, so what do we want to do here? These March for the Worldly Lights blow up a lot of our opponent's permanents. These Containment Priests have text against the Goblin Welders. It means they can't bring back the Painters from the graveyard. So that might have some text. The Ethersworn Canonist probably not doing anything for us here. The Plows are pretty good. So we're looking at these things as options to play. The Mother Runes is going to be decent here. The Portable Hole is going to be pretty decent. Chromatic Star is weirdly less good, purely because our opponent can welder our stuff, but we want to be blowing up their welder, so we can probably do without that. So the Jitte is going to be decent here for machine gunning all their little goblins down. I think we can probably trim a Stoneforge for a plow. And because it's a painter mirror, we probably just get rid of all but one of our painters. So we just tutor for one if necessary. So that will get us another plow. And it'll get us... so we can get rid of 2 of these grindstones as well, because we can just shoot it from them later. Let's have a look. So we want these March of Otherworldly Lights because they blow up opposing the Sagas, which is the best card. And there's a case of, do you actually want this back in just another threat? And we're just playing the fair game here. I don't hate this. So Mono White Painter plays a much better fair game than Red Painter, as a general rule. We have quite a lot of cool grindy pieces. We've got interaction like March of Otherworldly Light, which can really mess with their mana base. Now, normally you have more Wastelands, so this is going to be a little bit different. So what does this hand do? This hand combos on turn 3, weirdly, when I only have 1 of each piece. That's a bit odd. But we can Restoration of Eiganjo on 3 as well. I think we can keep this. The question is whether we lead out on a Saga or a Plains. If we lead out on the Plains, we'll be able to get value from our Saga when the time comes. So I think we're probably just going to lead out on the Plains here and pass. I don't know if our opponent knows that we're a Painter deck. They might do. Okay, so there's the Saga. So now it's our turn. Saga here. We should have March for the World Lighted last turn, actually. That was my mistake. Should have done it in their turn. So we will cast this on this. Cast. So we just exile that straight away. March for the World Light is very good in this matchup as an Ancient Tomb. Painter Servant, sure. So you have our own Ancient Tomb, so maybe we can just Grindstone our opponent out. Or we can just get rid of the Painter now because it's a very scary thing to exist. That's the other option. So how much mana we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I will have enough just to Grindstone our opponent out next turn if we need to. So I think we're just going to plow this guy immediately. And then make an Urza Saga token. And we just need to play it safe here. If our opponent taps out for like a Painter, okay, so we will just Grindstone our opponent out this turn, unless they play a red land. Okay, so we've got the win on board, I think. So we'll do this. Go and get the single Grindstone we have here. Take our opponent. All right, let's see how our opponent sideboarded. The Grave Star. Play this one out. This pumps our guy. Oh, sure. So, what have they got here? Phyrexian Dragon Engine, Fade the Mirror Breaker. So they're probably going to board differently because they know we're a Painter deck now. So they're probably going to see less Painters in their deck and more Furies. I would imagine. How many Furies do we have in here right now? 1, 2... Is that only 2 Furies? Alright, so we're probably going to have 4 Furies in the next game. So I'm happy with the way we sideboarded here. We basically are the fair deck that kind of can pivot and just get them with a Grindstone if needs be. But even if they didn't play that Painter, we still had them. We didn't need their Painter Servant to kill them. I do wonder if people might, if Painter becomes a really popular deck, that Urza Saga decks could even just play a Grindstone in their decks, in their sideboards, just for the Painter matchup, so you can try and get them with their own Painter. That's not a crazy idea, and it would be quite fun. All right, let's just submit. If I were being handed a white source, I'd be down for it, but it doesn't, so we're going to mulligan. What does this hand do? This hand makes a turn 1 Stoneforge Mystic, then I kind of don't really have much in the way of other plays. I can't even put anything in off it because I need another white source. So going down to 5 here. This is fine. The Restoration can do a lot of work for us. We're probably throwing back the Horizon Canopy and the... Oh, it's kind of awkward here. So we get rid of the Fiddlebender. We want the Saga though. And we want the Restoration because that's how we're going to pull out of our little snafu of mana here. And we can't drop the Plow because we need to remove their thing. It's a case of whether I want a Saga or a Fiddlebender in play. I think the Saga is just going to be better. So I think we'll just say done here. Like, Saga is like the best card in most of the decks it's in. Okay. So we drew a Fiddlebender, so that's pretty nice for us. And we just start out on this Ancient Den. Maybe we should have started out on the Ancient Tomb, just because our opponent might have a way of disrupting artifacts. So I think it's wrong to just lead on this one, actually. But then again, our opponent won't know that we can deliver a big spell next turn. Our opponent not playing anything off of the Saga, interesting. So this turn, we can play our Restoration. Get to see the new card in action. Let's get ourselves a card. It's not as good as Fade the Mirror Breaker, but it's not as bad as people think it is either. I think this card is pretty decent. It does a lot of things. Next turn we can use this to put Fiddlebender into play, because we're going to have a spare Plains to discard. So here's our search for this. I assume our opponent was reading that for a little while, because it's not a card you see very often. So when we untap, we're going to get ourselves a Fiddlebender into play by discarding a Plains, and we're going to hold up the white source from our Ancient Den so we can plow, and we're going to play our Urza Saga. Now, depending on what we draw, that can change our plans a little bit, but that's what we would like to do. This is our sort of shields down turn, although I suspect our opponent won't play out a painter without the ability to protect it. So this might be the painter turn. Okay, so this Mox Opal isn't live yet, but if they play a painter, it will be, and they can have a red blast up. Or they can just make some tokens when the time comes. I think we beat Urza Saga tokens pretty handily, so this turn we're going to discard our Fiddlebender and put it straight into play. We'll come and tap, but it's summoning sick anyway, so it doesn't really make much of a difference for us. And then I think we are on the play the Saga plan, and then we're just going to hold up this plow and hope it does some useful things. Now our opponent can get something off of the Saga that is... I can't think of anything they can get off that will interfere with our Ancient Den, but remains to be seen if that's the case. So we are pretty close to a 7 painter combo. By the time this Urza Saga goes off, we can do painter combo. Now our opponent, being a painter deck, means that might be a bad thing for us, and also they're going to have a load of blasts. So my painter obviously isn't going to name blue and turn on all their blasts, but if they get a painter in play, they can blast anything they want. So maybe in the first game it's better to play our own painter and just go into it that way. Just go into the Grindstone instead of the Pithing Needle. I think our opponent would have just killed us on the following turn, so let's probably focus on this game instead. So they're just making a construct, sure. I don't think the construct line beats us. The combo beats us, and that's the thing we got to worry about. So they're just getting another token here. That's fine. So I can plow this now, so I gain 1 less life, but I don't really care about that. This is the sort of game that's won by miles rather than inches a lot of the time, I think. So they could go get Shadowspear and start trying to do the beatdown line, but as soon as they equip Shadowspear, we can plow the thing that's got the Shadowspear on. And then this is going to become a 3-4 next turn. A Lotus Petal, okay. So we're in Mana Town here. This also pumps their guy. So we have a choice of whether or not we plow this. I think we can just take the 5 for this turn, because we're going to have a second white source anyway. The only way we're punished for this is if we draw another plow or another removal spell. We can go and get Portable Hole next turn if we want to anyway, with our guy, Twin Shot Sniper. Sure, that's fine. It's not great for us, but I don't think it's going to cost us a game here. Opponent's got 4 cards in hand. That's quite a lot to be dealing with. Maybe we should be ploughing here. I think we're probably just making guys though. Okay, this is a good draw for us. This gives us additional white mana if we need it. It's also an artifact for the Fiddlebender, if we are so inclined. I think we play this out. So this is going to make a construct this turn. This is a petal for the purpose of ploughing. So our guy's only going to be a 2-power guy. So we have to decide if that's good enough or not. I think we are doing this and using our petal as our white source if we need to for an emergency plow. But if our Oswald survives, we can just combo them next turn, because this turns into a Grindstone, then we have 3 mana here. Sorry, this gets a Grindstone, and then we can turn... Oh, we need a 1 mana artifact still, don't we, actually? We're a little bit a ways. A Fury. Fury is good. This is a hard cast Fury as well. It is. Okay. So we're probably losing our Architect of Restoration, I would imagine here. 2 and 2 is interesting, though. That's very interesting. So I think we create a colourless token here. We're a little bit under the gun life-wise. So the reason for the 2 here means if we double block something, they do get to kill both of the things. So we've got 3-3. So this will be 3, 4, 5 points of toughness. So if we double block, we lose both guys, but we trade for 1 construct token. Now what we can do is we can do that, and then if we use this to plow, then our opponent also gets to kill it, because this will be reduced in toughness by 1. So we're kind of in a bit of a bind here. I don't think we can take 10, but we can probably take 5. I think we just take 5 here. Oh, sorry, 4, because this is going to be shrunk by 1. And then next turn we can make an Urza Saga token ourselves. And then we're sort of ahead on that line, and this guy is going to be able to attack. They can trade the Fury for it if they want to. I don't mind that trade. I don't really want to trade this for a token. Yeah, this game's fairly interesting. Okay, we just let this rumble through for 4. We can always go Shadowspear and put it on our Architect of Restoration for the attack, if we feel so inclined. Depending on what we draw might change what we go and get with this as Saga. So I think we are just going to make a token here. It's a real cost for the life on here, but I think it's worth having the body. So we're probably incentivized to go and get Shadowspear. If our opponent can combo us, we can't really stop it either. We can go and get Pithing Needle here, but I don't know if we're winning that game when we do that. I think we're just going to get Shadowspear. We'll play this one out. So if we put it on this guy and attack for 4, they kind of have to trade their Fury, I think. And I'm happy with them trading their Fury. We'll use this one for this. This will get us a 1/1 token, which can chump block for a turn as well. I think they will have to trade their Fury here. And we're going to get 4 life off of this. Now, if they've got some way of blowing up all of our guys, that's going to be pretty bad. But having this on attack and blocks in a race is going to be a problem for them. Yeah, so there's the trade we're looking for. We're basically saying that we're dead to the combo here. But they have to have both pieces and the mana. So we get to kill this. We gain some life. Makes us a little bit healthier. Next turn we can go and get Batterskull probably. Brayer's Apprentice. Sure. So this is going to give them a decent chunk of card advantage. Because they can sack any artifacts with this. So the Lotus Petal that's still in play is going to become a fresh card when they untap with this. Now, they probably don't want to attack with the Construct token because I can double block it and trade 1 for 1 and be left with a Construct. But we'll see what our opponent has to offer. Fable the Mirror Breaker. Okay, this is a pretty good way of breaking open mirrors. Alright, so this shouldn't be attacking this Construct. Sure, there it is. Now it's on to us. Soul Guide Lantern. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can just empty our hand this turn. I don't hate that. So for this, we'll play this one out. We will exile the artifact from our opponent's graveyard. And then we'll equip this to our construct token. And then we want to get the life into play. So I think we are going to attack straight away. We can always move it around if needs be. But we need to get some life in the bank. Sure. So we're trading construct tokens here. And I'm gaining 6 life for that. And then we can play this guy out, which should win the fair creature matchup. So it's a case of how much value they get and whether they can find the combo or not. So we can get Batterskull, which is the thing we can cast, and it has Vigilance. So I'm actually preferring the Batterskull over the Kaldra here. So I think that's us for this turn. If we can untap with the Stoneforge, we can put a Batterskull in and give it a Soul Guide not Soul Guide Lantern, a Shadowspear. Not that that's really going to help, it's just going to make it a 5/5. So I guess we can probably just keep throwing a 4/4 Vigilance and a 6/6 lifelink trampler guy at them. That's probably the best way to win the game. Now, again, our opponent discards cards, finds a combo, we lose. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So it costs 6 mana to deploy both halves of the combo and activate it. And they also have a Goblin Shaman, which they can suicide into us for a treasure token. So let's hope that they don't have the combo, because we'll just lose. Okay, so discard a Mountain and a Red Elemental Blast. So what they can do is they can chump block with like Thopter tokens and then sack them to the Brayers. Okay, they're just sacrificing the Brayers now. This makes me think they've got half of the combo in hand, and they're waiting to see if they draw the other half before they make a decision. Because normally you want to hold that back for blocks, so you at least get a little bit of value out of the 1/1. So they're obviously digging for a very specific thing that just wins them the game out there. So we have to assume our opponent can kill us if they draw the other half of their combo. Considering they've just put a second Favour the Mirror Breaker in, they're going to be able to see a lot more cards next turn. Alright, come on deck, do me good. A Pithing Needle. So how much mana do we need? 5 mana to do the things we want to do. So this equips to this guy. Pay for it with this. Now we can name the backside of Favour the Mirror Breaker, or we can name Brayer's Apprentice. But I think we win this game even through Kiki tokens here. But we'll see if our opponent reacts to our Shadowspear equip. Okay, so then we attack. And we floop in the Batterskull in combat. After we see what how our opponent's blocks are. We should have played the Pithing Needle for 1 extra point damage, actually. That's my mistake there. So that's a big chunk of our opponent's life total there. Then we're casting this. Should have cast this pre-combat. We're going to Grindstone. It's not going to cover the combo forever, but it's going to do a reasonable job of it. So we are ahead in the fair game. But our opponent can answer our thing, potentially. Now, what they're probably going to do is try and just draw loads of cards of Brayer's Apprentice. So they're going to keep copying this and making their tokens. But I think this is going to be easier for us to beat than the Painter's Servant combo. So our opponent is pretty close to the combo. If they have a Red Blast, they might just kill us this turn. On the Batterskull. Interesting. I guess I don't have the mana to bounce this turn. Sure. Don't think we're going to block with our token this turn. Alright. Third Fable the Mirror Breaker. Sure. So we're in a little bit of trouble, perhaps. Swords to Plowshares. That's a pretty good one, truth be told. I think we probably want to sacrifice this turn, but we want to get our attacks in first, I think. Is our massive boy going to do the work here? So what we can do is we can hold up the plow for when they go to target. Okay, so this is fine. So we can kill this guy. So this will fizzle the Plowshares, the red elemental blast. Now we do still have the Brave Apprentice plan online for our opponent, so we will need something here. Sure. So I'm going to sacrifice that for a card instead of life. There's a Painter's Servant on top of their library. Sorry, exiled. But they're going to take the hit this turn at least from our guy. Then we'll draw a card, especially since we know our opponent doesn't have anything. March for the Worldly Light is a very good one here. We can't quite cast it on the Brave Apprentice this turn, but our opponent might not do that until their next, until I untap, just in case they want to do it like end step. So we can hopefully hold up this March for the Worldly Light for as soon as they activate the Kiki target and the Brayers. But we'll see what our opponent aims for here. So I'm going to play the Painters from Exile, I imagine. Yeah, sure. Things are blue. A Lotus Petal, sure. So that means we're not in immediate danger of being comboed out. But it's another thing for the Brayer to sacrifice. There's going to be a lot of treasure for our opponent. So they're going to have loads and loads of cards for the Brayer. So we'll need to deal with the Brayer soon. Hopefully this March for the Worldly Light can do it. Okay, so they've untapped and let us have our mana available here. So we have a Lotus Petal. So we'll play this out because it's an artifact and it pumps our guy. And we'll go to attacks. So what our opponent can do instead is the Kiki Jiki trick where you target, the reflection of Kiki Jiki targets another creature. But then in response, we kill it. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4. So this means they could just create a huge army if they do that. But this way they don't get to do that. Sure. So this is them looking for a red blast. And they find the red blast, which is pretty good for them. This means they get to make a bunch more guys to attack us with, which is pretty bad news for us. I'm kind of amazed they've kept in this many painters, to be honest. It's an interesting approach. Well, actually, no. Is it, what, 2 painters? Well, they must have their full set of painters in, I think. Interesting. All right. So they're going to have a bunch of 2/2s to attack with. We only get to block 2 of them. So, yeah, we need our opponent to not have the red elemental blast on top of their library. Turns out if we'd have named Reflection of Kiki Jiki with this, we'd have been A-okay. But again, can't win them all. How many guys is this? I get to block 2 of them. I suspect it's probably enough. Line apart on a blocker. Seems weird because that's an additional point of damage and I'm on an odd life total, so that should probably get in my face rather than the creature. So now we see the power of the second best card in the deck, the Reflection of Kiki Jiki. And the very potent card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3, 4, 5. Okay, they're just making a load of Brayer tokens instead. So if they're going for loads of card advantage instead, we might be able to grindstone them out if they can't kill us this turn. Again, I haven't done the maths. I'm going to put my guy in front of one of their guys and then work out the maths when I die or not. As is tradition. Pretty sure this looks dead to me. It was at 10 there. Yeah. Yeah, I think we were pretty unlucky there. Like, if that top card of our opponent's deck is basically anything other than a red blast, we probably win that game because stuff has to start going under the bus because I've got a lethal threat. So, yeah, a little bit unlucky, but also with the Pithing Needle, if we could have named the onboard thing instead of playing around the thing that could have come down to kill us, maybe that's the correct thing to do. When our opponent has that many Reflection of Kiki Jikis to like dig into stuff, it's kind of like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of thing. So maybe if I name Reflection of Kiki Jiki here, then I'm in a better shape. So interesting. But 9 times out of 10 when you do that, they just kill you with a combo. And maybe it's better to do that and hope they don't have it rather than be a bit cold to the thing that is in play, maybe. Anyway, I think we're done. And we'll go on to the next round. Okay, so we're on the play for this round. We do have just a turn 3 combo. So I think we can keep this one. We only have 1 white source. So we can't really afford to play out our petal for a white source because we're also going to need that for the mana on turn 3. But if we draw a white source along the way, we can always deploy the Mother of Runes and have the petal for the turn we get off. Our opponent has mulliganed to 6 cards, so we might as well play this out, I think. Certainly makes our opponent think less of us as a painter deck, perhaps. Because the red painter decks tend not to have Shadowspear in, and the white painter deck's quite uncommon. A Wasteland. Okay, so our turn 3 combo plan is off the cards. I see. A little bit rude. Plains, please? Serra Paragon, you are not Plains. Play this out and play this out. I'm kind of reluctant to play Mother of Runes. I kind of want to hold this Lotus Petal in case we draw something like a Restoration of Eiganjo, which then fixes our mana for the rest of the game. So, let's see how we do. Snow-covered forest. Okay, so I'm getting the impression our opponent is like one of these control decks with like the Ice Fang and stuff in it. This isn't the one, is it? I don't think we can actually cast any spells here. We have to keep our Lotus Petal in case we need our white source. We're in trouble. Misty Rainforest. Yes, they're going to be like maybe a 4-color control deck with like 2 Lights and Malones and a couple of Wastelands in. That's the impression my opponent's giving me right now. Veteran Explorer. Okay, so they're like maybe Bant Nick Fit or something, or like Sultai Nick Fit. If this guy dies, it certainly helps us out. Well, they could be trying to do like kind of an awkward space here. Like, we can play out this Stoneforge Mystic, but we don't know if it's ever going to do anything for us. And we're going to be back to needing a white source. We kind of just have to stick on what we're doing. Now, there could be like a players can't search libraries type deck and then crack this and then stop us from being able to get cards off of the Explorer. So they could just like drop a swamp and play a... Okay, no. Like an opposition agent was what I was thinking. Alright. They're very, very unlikely to pop their Veteran Explorer right now. Because I'm clearly struggling for mana sources. Yep, so they are bug. So I'm going to Cabal Therapy us, get some information. I think we can still win this game. So they've named Force of Will. Now, whether or not they flash us back naming Painter, I don't know. I have to assume that they're not going to flash this back, just to give us some cards. That can't be the right play here. So that, even if they do flash it back, they certainly won't do it until after they've got their 1 point of damage in. No, they're not cracking it. I thought we were friends. White Source. Restoration of Eiganjo. So this is one of the reasons I've been holding a Lotus Petal. So we just need any mana source, and then we can play the game. Yeah, we kept our hand knowing that it would be weak to a Wasteland, but we did have the potential to turn 3 combo our opponent. We just figured we'd maybe hit a land before then. Baleful Strix, sure. Now our Restoration of Eiganjo might not resolve. Just take the hit from this little lad. Any mana source on top of our deck. Hook us up. Let's go. We kind of just have to pass here. We'll discard one of these cards they know about. Are they going to put an Endurance in end of turn? We're getting our Urza Saga shuffled in. They've seen the Serra Paragon, so they probably should do. Yeah, there we go. And we'll get rid of one of our painters. We've got 2 of them. Can worry about that later. Now, our opponent doesn't have a lot going on. They do have an Uro, I guess. And that's probably going to give them some other bits and pieces to be getting on with. But they've only got 2 cards in hand before the Uro, so... Now, obviously, Uro can end this game relatively quickly. So we're getting hit for 4 this turn, and the next turn it's 10. And then turn after we're dead. So we get 2 more draw steps. So we can combo them off in that time with the right selection of draws if our opponent has nothing. Which seems very unlikely, but we may as well play to it because our opponent's used up more of their clock than we have anyway. So we may as well try and see if we can get incredibly lucky and scrape a win here. Okay. So our opponent counters our restoration. We have to concede, I think. Do you have Force of Will blue card? These sorts of decks tend not to run days. So. Alright. We might get to play 2 turns of Magic where our opponent's played many turns of Magic. So next turn we can put in our Painter. So we take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Or is that exactly lethal? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It is exactly lethal. Okay. We are done. Alright, we kept a hand that had 1 distinct weakness and they immediately hit us with that weakness. So it's going to happen sometime. So this feels like a matchup where Spirit of the Labyrinth is going to be pretty decent. And Containment Priest is going to be good against Uros, perhaps. No, because you cast it for its cost, don't you? So that's not going to work. We'll have these plows. The Banner Skull's good here, and the Canonists are also pretty decent here. So now we have to look at what we're cutting. The Jitte, they've got a lot of 1/1s, so maybe Jitte is going to be pretty good here. They have seen our combo, unfortunately. Do we want to risk having things like Fiddlebender in? So the Mother Rune is going to be good. Not convinced Portable Hole is where we want to be here. I'd rather have a plow than a portable hole. The trample from Shadowspear is relatively nice. Pithing Needle can name Wasteland. That's about the only thing we've really seen. I don't think we need to... Obviously, we did lose that game to Wasteland. I don't think we need to worry too much about Wasteland right now. So that'll get us a second plow. And then we're looking at here. The 3 Spirit of the Labyrinths. Are they going to be better than the Oswald Fiddlebender? They are X1s against a little horde of little mitty guys is the only problem. But they can just sit and play and do things for us that way, which I don't hate. We're probably trimming on the combo a little bit. That gets us our 3 spirits. We probably just want the Batter Skull. So maybe the Batter Skull... is it over the Canonist? Like, the Canonist stops them from cantripping. Like cantripping into a spell. But if they're just cantripping with creatures instead, that's not like the Baleful Strix is an artifact. They can just do that anyway. And if they've got flash creatures, they're just going to be casting flash creatures on our turns. They're kind of going to get around that clause. So I think this is the best we have going. So we're going to submit like this. So this hand has a turn 3 kill. Has Restoration of Eiganjo. It's got stuff going on. I think we keep this. Again, we are a little bit cold to Wasteland. I think we're going to play the Saga up first just because of how good the Karakas... Well, we don't want to lose our white source, but also the Karakas is very good against Uros and things. It makes it very hard for the Uro to actually close out the game. Now, again, they can just Wasteland our Karakas away at some point. No Wasteland. Okay, so we get to make Restoration of Eiganjo unless they Thoughtseize it away. They'll probably Thoughtseize the Painter because we're representing turn 3 combo, unless they have an immediate answer to the Painter. Okay, I took the Petal. It's a bit mean. It means we can't get our Restoration of Eiganjo into play next turn, which is very mean. I have a Grindstone though. So I think we will play out this, and we'll play out this Painter because we can always get it back later with the Restoration. And this will name us white. So our opponent thinks about Solitude, and we were not going to enable their Endurances or Force of Wills or Griefs. So the only choices really there were white or red. This is a second Thoughtseize. Okay, so we're losing our Restoration or our Grindstone here. I don't know if we take the Grindstone because the Painter is already representing it with the Urza Saga in play. There's probably still the Restoration here. And then try and kill the Painter, but maybe you want to try and kill the Painter first to see if that works before Thoughtseizing. We're looking to draw a mana source next turn. A mana source wins us the game as long as our opponent doesn't have anything to disrupt our Painter. They could have an Endurance, but then they'll be pitching 2 cards to shuffle their library. Okay, so the Restoration's gone. And there is the Fluid Delta. So we draw a mana source. It hasn't been great for us drawing mana sources the turns we need them so far. But there is one. So we'll go and get ourselves the Grindstone. Play this out. We got you. They do have a fetch land in play that they can do stuff with. Okay, so they're milling out their whole library, so we get to see it. Pernicious Deed, Tireless Tracker, Grist, Witherbloom Command, Assassin's Trophy, Assassin's Trophy. Okay, so that's pretty stacked. Where's the Endurances? Do they not keep their Endurances in? Because we saw one in the previous game, and now there's none in their deck. That feels like an error with sideboarding, because they did see the Painted Servant in the previous game. Okay, so their deck is just full of removal spells here. Yikes. Yeah, we're just trying to grind value with these sorts of things, I think, here. So, we just resubmit. We can't really commit to the board too much in the face of Pernicious Deed, but also 1-for-1 removal spells are going to be a bit of a problem for us. This matchup feels like it's going to be awkward. They have a lot of ways of removing our creatures and other permanents and hand disruption. They don't have a huge amount of ways of winning the game. That's sort of like a later plan for them. Oh, these hands, eh? So this is a Restoration of Eiganjo on turn 2, which I think is fine. I think we'll keep this. So this is the Chromatic Star doing its job very nicely in this hand. Now our opponent can Thoughtseize some mess with us. This Veteran Explorer. Greenstone's there, so getting a Dryad Arbor, sure. Okay, so we'll play out this Urza Saga, and we'll play out this Chromatic Star. I very doubt that's going to get Counterspell, even though it's very, very important for me that resolves. So if I get Thoughtseized here, and they take our Restoration, then we might be forced into... Well, we're not forced into... We can just play the Painter and try and combo them on 3 again. Okay, no Thoughtseize, that's good. Is this just an Uro? Collector, oof. Oof indeed. Okay, that's our white source gone. Veteran Explorer. Sure. Oh, that Collector oof there. Yikes indeed. Okay, now, the one plus side of this is we can just play an Urza Saga game, because the tokens don't care about activate abilities, they're just big meatheads. So that's the plan we're on now. And we do have a second Urza Saga to try and execute that plan with. We're going to take a fair bit of damage from this Ancient Tomb along the way. We're not going to really be able to recoup that, but our opponent is probably... They're either going to destroy our things or not, for the most part. Ice Fang. Okay, that's pretty good against big meatheads. And it also flies to peck damage away if necessary. I have a 2-2, so they're not going to attack with their Collector Oof this turn. They're probably not going to attack with their Veteran Explorer because I would get 2 lands out of it. I need 2 lands, so... Now, our opponent's deck is designed with this card in it, so they've obviously got some good stuff up the curve. But I would really like some lands here. It looks like our opponent missed their 3rd land drop as well. Okay, so that does help us out a fair bit here. At some point, we're probably going to remove the Collector Oof. Would quite like the Portable Hole that's in our sideboard right now. I'm pretty sure I sideboarded it out. Yep, should have kept that in for the purposes of Oswald. Alright, so our opponent can Thoughtseize us this turn, which is what I suspect is happening. Assassin's Trophy on our Urza Saga. Sure, I'll get another land. Okay, so we have white mana now, which is nice. Okay, so we have the Oswald Fiddlebender. We have the replacement Urza Saga. So I think we are tapping this for 2, tapping this for 1, and we're going to play Restoration of Eiganjo. Okay, so this gets us a card out of our library, so the grind keeps going. Now the question is, do we need to deploy anything else? I think we're going to deploy a Stoneforge, but we're going to get the Batter Skull, so we're not relying on the Stoneforge. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I can play the Kaldra even if our opponent Pernicious Deeds away as a Saga. So I think we can still get the Kaldra here. I don't want to play the Mother of Runes into what I suspect is a Pernicious Deed coming soon, maybe? Or do I want to try and force the Pernicious Deed? Because like this is a lot of stuff in play. So I think we could have attacked with a token there, but I think I'd rather prevent the damage on us for another turn. We can get the Fiddlebender in off of our Restoration of Eiganjo, or we can just go and get the other Saga and just keep making big guys, which is probably what we're going to do, and then force them to Pernicious Deed away our Urza Sagas, and then try and win with the Kaldra, because or we can try and win with the combo, because our opponent's going to have to Collector Roof, get rid of their Collector Roof if they Pernicious Deed. And if they don't, we're just going to have loads and loads of big guys, which should be enough. We'll see. We can also put Fiddlebender in and get this one, because this is the one that when it dies I get a card, so I can Fiddlebender this into, like, I don't know, some random thing and get a card off of it. I think we're probably looking at just trying to grind a load of Urza Saga value. Our opponent has finished resolving their Brainstorm. They took a very long time over it. I don't know if they had to go away from the keyboard or anything, but maybe it was a very difficult decision. What are we looking at here? A Greenstone Zenith for 3. Okay, so they were thinking about what Greenstone Zenith. We don't have a response, so we just have to let this go. This could be a Reclamation Sage or a Leovold or Endurance. Seems unlikely since they brought them out in the previous game. Could just be an Uro for a card. It's just an Uro. That's fine. Okay. And now they're brainstorming in response to the Uro triggers so that they can get another look and maybe power through some of these things. They're basically just trying to guarantee a land drop here, is what I'm getting the impression of. Okay, they did not hit the land drop there. They're also feeding their Uro so they can get it in play sooner. Just gains the ability. And then we have to discard something here. So I think I'm probably going to discard the Mother of Runes and then get back the Urza Saga. So this is tapped. But, so if I wasteland this green source, our opponent can't play Uro next turn. I'm certainly down to climb with that. We activate this. Put this Kaldra in play. We go tax with our 2 lads. Yeah, we can go with both of them. So Death Touch won't matter against our Germ token. Oh, it doesn't have Death Touch yet because they don't have the 3rd Snow Coven, actually. So now I think we just make this token just to give ourselves 1 more damage. Also gives us a blocker that we're going to want. The other option we had there was just playing the Restoration, but I think all we want to do is just use up all our opponent's resources on our Urza Sagas. So Pernicious Deed can't kill Kaldra, importantly. And they don't really have the mana to do much right now, because I saw them miss their land drop and try and brainstorm into one. So that gave us a big show. They had a weakness that we could exploit with our wasteland, that we'd sandbagged for the right time. Baleful Strix. So this one does have Death Touch. There's the Pernicious Deed that we've been playing around. I can pop it for 0 and kill our 2 tokens here. Popping it straight away. So this also destroys our Sagas. That's fine. So they can actually get damage in this turn if they want to, depending on if they want to try and race us, which they're probably going to have to. They'll try and race us with a bit of control. Like, this guy's never blocking, so this guy getting 2 points in makes sense to me. Okay, they're going in for the 3 points, sure. So now we get our Restoration of Eiganjo, and we have choices here. We have a lot of choices, actually. I think step number 1 is attacking with our 2 creatures here. Not blocking, interesting. So then I think we can play out our Serra Paragon, taking 2 life to then replay our Mother of Runes, or we can play out Restoration of Eiganjo, which doesn't do anything immediately. I think we should be playing out this. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. Play out Serra Paragon, and then we can wasteland away our opponent's Underground Sea and gain 2 life. I quite like that play, so our opponent's clearly floundering with mana. And Endurance. Okay, so we're going to lose our graveyard, so we don't get to do that. But this is a 2-for-1, just to stop us playing a card from our graveyard. I can certainly live with that. So I think we just play out this Oswald now. We are representing a lot of damage next turn, so if they block these 2, they're still taking 5, 6, 7, 8. So we should be able to nail the Collector Roof unless our opponent has additional plays. This guy is okay. Not spectacular, but okay. So this costs 7 to re-equip, doesn't it? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we might be able to re-equip this if we draw a land. Whether or not we want to do that is another question. What we can do... let me check my sideboard quickly and see what options we have. So we don't have the Portable Hull. The Umezawa's Jitte doesn't do anything in the face of our opponent's Collector Roof. We don't have a 0-drop to go and get a Soul Guide Lantern to remove their Uro yet. We could get the Grindstone and save that as a treat. Interesting choices here. We can always just use this to draw a card, but we have to draw it in our opponent's turn, so we can't actually do it, can we? Right. So I think we attack with our super powerful Phyrexian Germ Token. Now we can attack with this, which will trade with any of their guys, but it'll probably trade with their worst guy. I don't really want to do that. Now I'm going to play out this Restoration of Eiganjo. We don't have to pay any life for it. Draw ourselves a Plains out of deck, so it thins our deck, gives us another land drop, so these Kaldras are things that we can cast. Probably play out our basic planes here. We can't Magical Tinkering for any use here because we can't draw a card due to Leovold. So now we're just passing with a lot of guys that could come in. So that's put 5 power under this, and then they can do block here, and then these 2 will kill them. So they need something else. So they find a green source, they can bring back that Uro. Life from the Loam. Sure, that doesn't... Oh, that gives them a Dryad Arbor, actually, doesn't it? Oh, no, they didn't play the Dryad Arbor. So they don't have double greens, so they're not representing an awful lot of anything here. Interesting. Serra Paragon. I may discard a card. So I can play a Painted Servant for free, or I can just play our... I think just playing a Painted Servant for free here is fine. One in white. And then we're going to attack with all of our guys. So they have to soak up 5 damage here, right? And this makes a 1-1 as well. So the 1-1's not attacking, but again, it's another blocker that we have. So all of their... So they can put like the Leovold here, put this here, put the Ice Fang here, and then put this here, but they're still taking 5. So they have to soak up 5 trample damage here. So it's just going to prove challenging for them, I would imagine. And then we can play the Serra Paragon and get back the Oswald as well. Or we can get back the other Restoration of Eiganjo and just keep grinding value. This deck seems pretty good at grinding with the Serra Paragon Restoration combo. But this, what are they going to have here? Okay, they can't finish all our blockers here, so we managed to get the win. That game, Restoration of Eiganjo, looked incredible, to be honest. It did loads of work there. It drew us lands, which normally isn't like the greatest thing, but when you're playing things like Kaldra, we had the option to re-equip Kaldra easily, and when we got Pernicious Deeded, it didn't actually hurt the amount of mana we had in play. We could still play like 4 drops into 3 drops easily. So, yeah, big fan of how the Restoration of Eiganjo went there. Also had a nice big threat for us. The Serra Paragon was excellent value. It made our opponent have to burn the endurances, otherwise they were getting wastelanded again. So, yeah, these sorts of elements of it seem pretty good. All right, so that's 2 rounds, I think. So we're on to round 3. We're on the play for the beginning of round 3. We have a turn 2 combo, right? This goes on turn 1, and then we need 4 mana for turn 2, which we have. So, yeah, turn 2 combo. Let's hope our opponent can't interact with it. And if that doesn't work, we can start playing this Restoration game. We can just play the Restoration out on turn 1, but I'm not really sure if that's where we want to be. Let's see. We also have the ability to play the Soul Guide Lantern if our opponent is like playing Eldrazi's that we need to stop from shuffling in. So we're in a pretty interesting spot here. Play this one out. Play this guy. Name white. We'll say go. Let's see what our opponent wants to say about this. It's so scary when you see someone just throw out a paint like that. Arab Mesa. So this could represent a Swords to Plowshares or a Lightning Bolt. They might not think we can go off on turn 1. So they might not. Okay. They've correctly decided to blow up our Lightning Bolt. To blow up our guy. However, Restoration of Eiganjo is going to get it back next turn, and we're going to go for the combo again. So here we're hopefully seeing the more combo-y side of Restoration of Eiganjo. Like, our opponent can't daze this, so they have to force of will if they want to deal with this. I suspect they're just reading it, hence the delay. So this gets us a card. And we can play out the Lotus Petal now. I don't think we need to play out the Lotus Petal, though. I'm trying to think. Our opponent's played a Plateau, actually, so they're more likely to have something like a Thalia. So I think we should play out the Petal and not get caught that way. So if our opponent doesn't do anything this turn, or doesn't hold up removal, we can kill them next turn. Ancient Tomb. Okay, so is this like red-white initiative? So they could have a Solitude. So maybe we don't name white with the painter. Chromox, sure. This could be the little guy that takes a card out of your hand. Seasoned Dungeoneer. That's not the one. Sure, you can venture into the Undercity. So they're going to have a Plains in hand. So one of the reasons we've changed this deck is to try and be better against the initiative deck. So if we can combo them on turn 3 after them interacting with us once, then that would be a good start. Discard this. Get back to Painter Servant. We'll name green. Play this Plains. Play this. Okay, sure, we got it. So the Restoration of Eiganjo there meant that we got 2 bites of the cherry with our Painter Servant, and the new mana base we've got with these Ancient Tombs allowed us to do that a lot quicker. So this is the exact matchup that the deck has changed to try and beat, and we've won game 1. So that's something, that's promising. So, how do we play the other games? I would like a 4/4 Vigilance guy to keep us alive for a bit longer. That seems like a nice thing to do. Canonist is very bad here, so we can board out our Canonist. The Containment Priest is good against the Throne, but I don't really want to be in a situation where that's how I'm playing the game. So we have these two Source Plowshares. Umazawa's Jitte is actually bad against these people because they don't really have... Well, that's not true, actually. They do have Thalias, and sometimes they run Paolo, but if they just got a hand with like 3/3s, this Jitte looks so bad. We don't need Soul Guide Lantern. Pithing Needle can hit touch of the Spirit Realm, but they have to hold up 2 mana for that. And I think we don't necessarily need that one. And we take that out. So that's Batterskull Skull and 2 Plows in. Now, we could board in these Might of the Body Lights to mess with our opponent's ability to get the Throne Dead 3. We can also bring in our Flash guys so that we can flash in and steal the initiative. So if we were to board these in, how would that impact us? The Portable Hole can only hit mana sources. I'm not... it can sometimes hit their only white source, that's the thing. So maybe that's keepable. We want to keep all our combo pieces because the aim of this game is to combo them pretty quick. Would we like to try and fit these Containment Priests in? I don't think so. I think we just need to get them dead with the combo. But if we have to pivot into Batterskull Cauldron, that's also fine. We can make turn 1 Stoneforge as well, which is a reasonable way of presenting a clock. So the turn 2 Stoneforge or Fiddlebender. Turn 2 Stoneforge can tussle with your opponent a little bit, but they can still just exile your guy, which is a bit of a pain. I think we do keep this though. Lotus Petal. So it looks like we're going to get like a white plume on turn 1, which is basically the best opener they have most of the time. Sure. So there's the white plume. Pretty sure that's going to beat us on the draw, unless we draw a Lotus Petal. And then we will lose to the Solitude or something like that, or a removal spell on their turn. But a Lotus Petal would give us a fighting chance. What does this Ancient Tomb do for us? The Restoration of Eiganjo probably not doing enough for us. I think we just play this one out. We don't want to hurt ourselves this turn. We're going to play out the Grindstone. If they can interact with it or take a turn off interacting with it instead of killing us, that's something. But then next turn we're probably looking at playing our Stoneforge Mystic, because we can play a Batterskull or a Cauldra. It's probably going to have to be a Cauldra because they've got the 5/5 going now. But if they have a removal spell for our Stoneforge, then we just lose. It's very hard playing against the initiative deck when you're not playing a deck that has 1-drop creatures and counter spells, basically. Or you try and kill them on turn 1. Like, those are the decks you want to be playing against initiative. Everything else feels a bit grim, to be honest. Sure, so we're going to take 5. We're going to take 10 on turn 2 here. And then our opponent is representing lethal on turn 3, just with some guys. So our Stoneforge is not going to be good enough to do anything here. It can block the White Plume and buy us 1 more turn. So we're going to need something a bit more than what we have here. Plows would be useful. This is an example of why I didn't want a Portable Hole in the deck. It doesn't do anything here. So this turn we can play out this Ancient Den into whatever guy I'm playing is chump blocking here. So this guy... does this have to get Batterskull? Does it matter what it gets? Because our Stoneforge is chumping anyway, I think we just get the Batterskull. Just on the off chance that somehow we manage to buy ourselves another turn. Like, so if we draw a Source of Plowshares next turn, we can play like Source of Plowshares and then a guy. And then turn after we can play the Batterskull. And then maybe that will do something. Okay, so we're just dead. We just Goldfish on turn 3, sure. Oh, another fun game against initiative. Okay, back to the sideboard. Do we want to change anything? Nope, we just have to go on the play and go a bit faster, I guess. Sure. We need to keep Lotus Petal Soul Land hands. Obviously we had like an okay, well, we had a playable hand there, but the problem is this deck's just not incredible against this. Oh, this is annoying, isn't it? So this is a turn 2 Serra Paragon. Is a turn 2 Serra Paragon any good? It might be. Sure, let's try it. Well, we're here to test, right? So let's give it a test. So we'll play this out, and we'll play out our Petal in case they play a Thalia. So next time we play out Serra's Paragon, then we play out the Lotus Petal again, and then the next time we can play out Batterskull. Okay. So this. So it's 1, 2, 3. Well, this is a card that's going to be very good at stealing the initiative because it flies. And once it's in play, I get priority to immediately play this Lotus Petal. Sure. So you're plowing our guy, but we're getting a Lotus Petal. And then next turn, we can play a Batterskull. Is a turn 3 Batterskull good enough against the initiative? Let's find out. This is a white plume. The answer is no, probably. Sure. Yikes, this deck. Okay. The life gain off this also offsets an activation of our Ancient Tomb as well. So we can either Serra's Paragon, or we can Serra's Paragon Wasteland or play a Batterskull. I think we have to Serra's Paragon Wasteland. So that gets exiled. And then this comes in, play this Wasteland, take our opponent off of this so they can't play like Seasoned Dungeoneer or anything. And if they attack us, we then attack them. And that might be good. This deck is just very hard to beat with creatures and removal spells. You need Wasteland, counter spells, and 1-drops really to try and fight this deck. Like when I played Delver against the initiative, it felt very easy to beat the initiative. Every other deck I played against the initiative, it felt very, very hard to win against it. I had some pretty good runs with some like Glacial Chasm style decks, but that's about it. They have a follow-up land. Well, they got the mountain we know about. They have like a soul land to deploy like another white plume or something. No, just a mountain that we've already seen. Okay, so they're plowing our guy. Sure. So 3 mana, 5/5 vigilance that draws you a card, and then sometimes also draws you another card and deals 5 damage, and sometimes also gets you a creature. It's just too strong in my opinion. All right, here is Oswald. See, cards like this I think should be like triple white or something like that. I think that makes them fair if you want to print things. Like, obviously they didn't print these expecting them to be good in Legacy because the people who designed Commander don't really know much about the rest of Magic, to be honest. That's how it feels anyway. But yeah, it feels like we're just going to get pummeled by the initiative again. Even though the first game looked pretty good with the Soul Lands, that's certainly encouraging a little bit because the mono red Delver, the mono red Painter is all right against the initiative. Okay, they have a Karakas as well, sure. So what's this? Bashing us 5. And then if we draw a land, we can play a Batterskull, which buys us a turn, and then they'd throw in the dead 3 the following turn. Restoration of Eiganjo. So I can do this and take a load of damage. I don't really have any other plays, so we do this, get a land, play out our Oswald, force the tap down of the Karakas at least, and then turn after maybe we can draw a. We can't even draw a Painter and get that going, can we? So we don't get to tap our Ancient Tomb again this game because their white plume is going to put us to 2 this turn because they're just going to bounce our guy and bash for 5. And then they're throwing the dead 3 when it pops next turn. Is probably just going to find them a Seasoned Dungeoneer that is basically impossible for us to beat at this point, I think. Yeah, we kind of need to draw 2 cards next turn to stand a chance. We need a removal spell and a 2-drop to put in off of our Restoration. Which just ain't happening. But let's see. If they want to deploy a threat this turn, let us chump block with our Oswald. Maybe we can buy another activation of our Ancient Tomb and get a Batterskull in, which might be able to buy us another turn. And then we'll get our Restoration flipped, which might be able to buy us another turn again. But again, we're just treading water here. Okay, so just doing for this play, turning off our Ancient Tomb. That's the correct play. Like, you're already miles ahead on board. You don't need to do anything else. Okay, is this going to say Cleric? Warrior. So this could be the Goblin that makes goblins. Okay. A Lotus Petal. This could just be the 5/3 guy then. The red one. Alright, Seasoned Dungeoneer. So we could be dead this turn. let's see. A Goblin Rabble Master. So if this explores, positively we die immediately. Let's see what they explore. Okay. We are just dead. We concede the game. So another loss to the initiative deck. Yeah. I don't really know what to do about that. I don't think that the white painted deck can reliably beat the initiative, which is a real problem because that's like one of the most played decks right now. But maybe they'll ban something from initiative. Who knows? I think it narrows the format quite a lot having initiative in it, because it's only one of the only really good matchups against it is Delver, which is already like the best deck. So all this does is beat the decks that are good against Delver. So it's a bit awkward having it in the format, in my opinion, and it's a bit miserable to play with and against. Anyway, on a lighter note, we did get the first game, and we did have some really nice looking restoration plays in the first game. So that's another tick box in the Restoration of Eiganjo column, even if it didn't pan out in the game overall, in the match overall. All right, on to the next round. Our opening hand does not have white mana. This is not a keep. This hand doesn't have white mana, but it does have a turn 3 kill, so we will keep. I think we can probably spare one of these many Urza Sagas, right? Our planes. An Ornithopter. Okay, so our opponent's playing Hammer, most likely. So turn 3 Goldfish might be quite good here. Sometimes they do run Wastelands, though. So that's something to watch out for. But we can't really play around that. We can play through it. It would just take an extra turn off the clock. So next turn we just play out our Painter's Servant, I think. So on our combo turn we can have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. So we do have to play out our Painter on the next turn. Stoneforge Mystic, sure. What have you got? We can get caught by a Plow here. Paradise Mantle. Back to us. Okay, so on our combo turn we can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana, which is enough to play and crack Painter in one turn and keep our opponent sort of guessing as to what we're doing a little bit. I think we can play... If we play out the Ancient Tomb here, it'll just look like we're playing like a normal Saga game, and then we explode at them next turn with the combo. So this also gives us a blocker as well. So if things go wrong, we're in a slightly better spot. We could have played the Petal out just to pump this, to make a 2-2. That probably would have been a smart play. Pure Steel Paladin, sure. If they got Hammer, that could be a bit annoying for us, but it should tap them down and let us win the game if they do. If they have 2 hammers, on the other hand. This is just a Kaldra. Hammer of Nazin. Okay, sure. That's fine. This is not going to reduce our life total to 0. Wait, this... Then we could have a Solitude. I haven't seen them in the hammer list, but it's certainly possible. So it's our turn. That's for 1. And then we go and find ourselves a Grindstone. We play this out. Play this out, because why not? Play this out. Name green. Okay, so we got the game 1 there. Our Goldfish was faster. Again, the Ancient Tombs meant that we could deploy our thing in one turn and avoid like kill spells and stuff. So having the Ancient Tombs definitely helped in that respect for the deck. We didn't have any white sources of our own, which could have come back to bite us, which is one of the drawbacks of this particular list. So that's worth looking at as well. But we did deploy a reasonable Urza Saga game as well, which is another thing that Ancient Tomb helps with. Alright, let's go into the sideboard. This is a game where we would like Swords to Plowshares. This is a game where we would like March of Otherworldly Light. This is a game where Ethersworn Canonist does not do anything. The Umazawa's Jitte is pretty reasonable here. What are we looking at here? So we want to keep the Chromatic Star because that's kind of one of the ways that we can fix our mana. The Pithing Needle can name an equipment, which is important. The Shadowspear might be required. Soulguard Lantern will not be required in this game. The Oswalds are going to be hard against a deck that's running Karakas, so we probably need to drop those. Because the game's quite short, we can't afford to play the Oswald and think maybe it will get there. We just need to remove the 1 or 2 things that our opponent does do that matter, and then try and grind them out with this sort of stuff. And then, you know, we can get the combo when we need to. That's the plan. Let's see how it works out. Battle Skull is also a fine add here that we could potentially have. What ideally you want to do is blow up the important things and then use Jitte to control the board, because all of their guys are quite small until they get equipment on them. So opening hand here has half of our combo. It's got a Jitte and a Stoneforge, so I think we can keep this. An Esper Sentinel, sure. So we're probably looking at doing a Stoneforge play on turn 2. So we could have played out the Ancient Tomb and played out the Painter's Servant in case we drew the thing, and it also might make our opponent stop for a turn to cast removal spells. Okay, so we're looking at relatively slow here. The reason I didn't do that is because I just wanted to hold back our life a little bit, because we're kind of going to be pushing into this Stoneforge quite hard to win the game. Okay, Restoration of Eiganjo. Is that worth... No, I think we just need to get our Stoneforge online here. And we can get the Kaldra because we've already got the Jitte. I suppose this turn, if we had played the Painter out, we could have maybe attacked with it holding a Jitte this turn. Or, sorry, on the next turn that we're going to have. Okay, so this is going to find a Colossus Hammer in a few turns. So we need to get the Jitte up and running before then. March of Otherworldly Light, sure. So we really want to draw some of our removal spells. We've got quite a few. Does this change how we want to play this game out? So we can have 4 mana this turn, play out this guy, and then replay the Lotus Petal. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana, 6. So we can play Serra Paragon and Painter's Servant this turn. That seems pretty good. Let's play off the Lotus Petal. Or do we want to pay for the trigger here? Maybe we're paying for the trigger actually. So we're casting this. It's white, white, 1, 2. And the second one won't get hit by the Sentinel because it's only the first spell you play each turn. So this gives us a Lotus Petal that gains us 2 life. And it can provide a little bit more mana next turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 6 mana next turn. So we might be able to put a Jitte onto our Serra Paragon next turn. And then we can kill the Paladin before they get the Colossus Hammer off of the Urza Saga. Okay, 2 Pure Steel Paladins is going to make that a little bit more tricky. Decisions. We're playing out this land, I think. I don't think this is a Restoration of Eiganjo turn. So I think we're playing this one out. We can draw a couple of cards this turn if we want to. This is cycles. So we play this, that pays for it. And then we pay 1 to draw a card, pay 1 to draw a card. We still got 1, 2, 3, 4 mana in place. We can draw 2 cards. I think that's where we're at here. Okay, we will pay here. We're looking for a source of Plowshares and much for what it like. Okay, so we've got Plow here. So I think we're just casting the Jitte. And we hold up the Plow. Or we can attack with the Jitte, get some counters this turn. Can't play this out this turn. Or we can play out the Chromatic Star and plow a guy, but they're going to draw 2 cards. So maybe we can plow the thing that holds it when it's attacking. That doesn't feel great to me. I think we want to get this in play. And then next turn... is that going to kill us, though? We kill one of their guys and we take... So if we attack with this and get the counters, we can kill this. And then this will take us for 10, 11, 12, 13. And we'll be on 14 because of the Lotus Petal. I think we're playing the Star out here, aren't we? They're going to get to draw a card off of our Plow, which is a bit annoying. We can gobble up something in a second. We also have the choice of we can Plow now and hit one of the Paladins, so they only get 1 card off of the Colossus Hammer. Or we can try and take the Colossus Hammer wielding creature out. I'm more scared of my opponent having a second card or hitting us for 12. I think probably hitting us for 12, let's be honest. Because if we can attack once with this Jitte, we might be able to stabilize. Not going to be easy, but it's not going to be impossible. We are going to gain 4 life this turn. You can make a little construct. Did they not make one of my end of turn? Oh, they didn't have Metalcraft, right? Yeah, they didn't have Metalcraft. So there's the Colossus Hammer. So they get 2 cards here. If another one of them is a Colossus Hammer, then we are probably having to put our guy under the bus. Ornithopter, not a problem. Another Urza Saga, so that's a problem down the line to worry about. A Nettle Cyst, sure. So our opponent's going to draw some cards here. Now, depending on how they distribute their equipments here, we could be in trouble. Because it's equipped 0, if we hit this, they just put it on another guy immediately. We have to hit it in combat to prevent the 12 damage. So this is the 9 damage coming in. Yikes. The Esper Sentinel coming in here is interesting. Okay, so we're going to crack this for white and gain 2 life. Then we're going to crack this for white. And this still works. Okay, so we have a plan now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we draw a land next turn, we win. Interesting. So we are going to... I guess we hit the biggest guy. Yes, you can have your card. Then we go to blocks here. Clean up this guy. Paladin hits us for a bit. And if we draw a land, we can win the game. Yep, I'm not attacking into Ornithopter, don't you worry. Land, please. Lotus Petal is also fine. Plow. Yikes. I have a lot of guys here. So we can Restoration of Eiganjo for plains. Put 2 guys under the bus. Plow. Is that enough? I think we have to play out the Painter's Servant as well, don't we? Yeah, okay. So we play this out for 1, 2, 3. We can't play the plow through this, in case you're wondering, because this is permanent spells, by the way. So we get the land off of our Eiganjo here, which gives us enough mana to combo next turn. And we can play out this land here. So this lets us plow. This Painter's Servant blocking is probably going to save us more life, and then we get it back with the Eiganjo next turn. So, yeah. So we're plowing a guy. I think we name green here. So the plan is to plow a guy, block a guy. Block 2 guys, plow a guy. Untap. Restoration brings back our painter. We play Grindstone, combo them off. That's the plan. Now, Source of Plowshares is going to really cause problems with that. A wasteland. This is a problem. Okay. So they're going to get another hammer here. In response to them playing it, I'm going to plow the pure steel so they can't equip it for free. So we still only have to block 2 guys. Mana Tithe. How are you going to be playing Mana Tithe on me in this day and age? Yikes. Ah, Jesus. They don't get killed by Mana Tithe very often. Sure. So now they have 4 lethal threats and we can only block 2. Sure. Okay. We have to be on the play. Do we have any changes to how this looks? Mana Tithe. Unbelievable. Do you want this Batter Skull? It's just a thing we can do. Like, I think the Jitte would have been fine there if we were on the play. I think we just... would you rather have a Batter Skull or a Mother of Runes? I think Mother of Runes is going to be good still because we can block the non-artifact creatures quite well with it. So we'll submit. And if we play the Painter out, we can block artifact creatures as well. Not with this hand, we're not doing anything. It's got no mana sources really in this mulligan. This is Painter into Restoration of Eiganjo, or it's Painter into Stoneforge Mystic. We'll keep this one, and we'll probably get rid of the Karakas because we've seen Wasteland and they don't have any legends we really want to bounce that I've seen so far. So we're going to take a little bit of damage. We're going to play this guy out, and we're going to name green again. So they want to take a turn off trying to deal with this. That was not so bad for us. Ancient Den. Sure. So they're ploughing it instead of deploying their own threats. Excellent. So now we can either Eiganjo or we can Stoneforge. I think I actually want to Eiganjo here. Or do I? It's a tricky one actually. Maybe we Stoneforge plus Grindstone. I don't think we want the Jitte here because you need a guy to wield it. So we're going to just get the Kaldra. Let me play out this. So our bait, Painter's Servant ended up being like less of a bait here. So we're probably going to lose our Ancient Tomb, which means our Restoration isn't going to work. But we're still going to be able to put our Kaldra in next turn, which will be the biggest creature on the board for a few turns at least. A Wasteland of our own. Oh, I do like Wastelanding. I think we just need to get the Kaldra in play and start representing a threat here. Because we don't know how long our Stoneforge is realistically going to stick around for. Now they can plow this, but that's going to take their turn away because they won't be able to deploy a white spell if they do that. And it does represent a 4-turn clock, so it's pretty reasonable. And next turn we Wasteland. We play out the Wasteland and cast Restoration, I think. Unless we draw another land and they miss on a land drop. Unless we're sensible. Don't care about that. Okay, our opponent is looking like they're going to be trying to plow us here. Which means this Restoration is where we want to be. Okay, this lets us play around Mana Tithe of all things. So I think we attack with both of our creatures here. Every little point of damage matters. Okay, it looks like they're playing around with a Mana Tithe here. So I can either Wasteland them or I can play Restoration around a Mana Tithe. I think I'm going to do that. And do I pay? I think I just let them have these cards. I don't want this to get Mana Tithed. I can't believe I'm playing around Mana Tithe in the year of our Lord 2020. Oh my. Sure. So this will get us plains. Because if I play around this and they have the Mana Tithe, then I've wasted like a whole turn there. Whereas this gives us the ability to have a much better turn next turn. Also, if we draw a Painter's Servant, we can just kill our opponent next turn. Pure Steel Paladin, sure. Are we going to get hit for 12? We are going to get hit for 12. Sure. Not ideal. So we're never paying for these Esper Sentinel triggers now. Oh, they're not attacking. That's weird. Painted Servant, be a nice draw. Mother of Runes. Sure, we'll play this Mother of Runes for free. Better than having this Ancient Tomb back, sure. Does come in tapped, is the only downside. But I think that's probably fine. Interesting. Why would they not attack with this guy? Does that mean I should not attack? So if we attack, they let this through. And then they come back with these guys. So if they have a second hammer, we die. But how are we winning the game if we're not attacking, is the question. I think we have to attack here with the Germ Token. See if they know about the clause on it. That exiles the creature it hits. They do not, okay. Oh, maybe they do. Nearly. Play this out. Wasteland, there's Ancient Den. Okay, they've got Wasteland, so they can take our Ancient Tomb out if they want to. Stoneforge Mystic. So this is going to get them a second hammer type effect. Now, oh, it's a Shadowspear. That's a good one, actually. That's a very good one. Oh, dear. Sure. I can't believe I'm going to lose to hammer of all decks. Oh, dear. All right, so this is going to hit us for 12. And, like, we haven't seen any removal spells this game. There's no point blocking with this. It soaks up 2 damage, but we're going to be dead soon anyway. Okay, so putting on that guy. Sure. I'm putting in that guy as well. Makes sense. Can I catch a break? Maybe is the answer. So how much mana do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So play this out for 2. So that's 1, 2. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana, which is not enough to play and activate a painter if I draw a card off of this. Sure, you can have a card, whatever, I don't care. We've gone past that stage mattering, I think. No, I'll not pay 12 generic mana. No, I'll not pay 1 to print that either. So we'll pay white and we'll draw a card. Looking for a removal spell. A Wasteland doesn't do it. This can block a guy pretty effectively. But how are we winning this game? Are we winning this game is the next question. So this can block and do the first strike trick and exile. Do we want to play a Wasteland? No, because we need to have enough mana to deploy Painter and crack it next turn. We could Wasteland their Wasteland. We could Wasteland their Ancient Den. I think we have to play the Plains out here and say go. So we're not dead, but we're in trouble. Our opponent's got a full grip of cards. Now we can give our guy protection from white, the Mother of Runes, but if they have a second hammer of any description, then we're going to be in a bit more trouble. Sure, Paradise Mantle on your Stoneforge. Okay. This is March of Otherworldly Light, where they're just sort of putting it onto all their guys to tap them for mana. Permanents, your opponent's control lose hexproof and indestructible. That's fine. That doesn't actually matter here. That's not the text that's going to matter. That text, on the other hand, will matter. Yeah, I think we're dead. Yikes, losing the hammer. Like, if we draw removal spells, we win. So the problem with hammer decks is that if you take out the one piece that's doing something, their deck doesn't do anything. So like single removal spells are very good. In the previous round they had the double paladins, that became difficult. But this one we just didn't draw one of our 8 removal spells for the paladin there, which is a bit unfortunate. But it happens sometimes, and sometimes it happens in your favour, so you can't really complain. I would like to see a more refined hammer deck. It hasn't felt like it's quite up to legacy power level yet. But obviously we're testing a lot of stuff out here that probably isn't quite up to snuff either. But this little sequence of play was pretty good for them. Yeah, all right. I think that's that end of that round. So we'll go into the next round. Well, I think we're 1 and 2 now. 2 and 2. I can't remember. Let's go to the next round. There's a turn 1 Restoration of Eiganjo hand. That's pretty cool. That also gives us a turn 2 Serra Paragon. Yeah, seems pretty good. We can certainly cheat our curve quite nicely. Now, our opponent could be doing some broken-y combo-y things, so maybe this Ethersworn Canonist is going to get the job done for us. I don't know. A Verdant Catacombs. A Tropical Island. A Birds of Paradise. Okay. This could be like Allurin, maybe? We'll see. So we'll go City of Traitors. Lotus Petal. Our opponent's going to be, oh no, not one of these initiative guys. But we're not. We're doing something much cooler. We're playing Restoration of Eiganjo on turn 1. We're resolving our Restoration of Eiganjo. Excellent. So next turn, we get back this Lotus Petal. We play our planes, get a Serra Paragon. And get back the Lotus Petal again. Pretty nice. Sure, that doesn't impact what we're doing right now. We'll throw away his planes. So if we put the planes into play, actually, it comes in tapped, actually. Oh, so we can't actually make the thing this turn, can we? Let's go about that. So this turn we can make a painter. We'll just take these planes into play. That was a misstep. Oh, I still got Christmas lag. There's 1 in the morning, but still. So I think we are playing out our Painter's Servant here. Let's see what reaction this gets from our opponent. And green. That does help them with endurance, actually. Should have named white, actually. So if we play out our land now, we lose our city. And we kind of need our city next turn to play the Serra Emissary. So I think we just hold back like this for a turn. Yeah, that wasn't a very clean turn, I'm afraid. The putting the planes into play around the City of Traitors thing is quite a nice little thing to do, though. But next turn we get the Paragon and the Petal. And the turn after we can replay the city if we need to. Scavenging Ooze. Alright. Okay. They're like Greenstone Zenith deck of some description. Interesting. Scavenging Ooze. They didn't just eat my Petal. I guess they don't know that we've got the Serra Emissary coming. So we get ourselves a little 3/4 Vigilance guy. Down with that. So let's get this and this. Play this out. Get ourselves a big angel. Force of Will. Okay, I was kind of hoping that we'd be able to double wasteland our opponent next turn. But alas, was not to be. So we've got 2 green mana and there is 1 creature at the moment. We have a plow that we can utilise. Have this wasteland as well. If we wasteland this guy, we can wasteland whatever the guy finds. But if we wasteland anything, the Reclaimer will hit it. So I think we're just going to attack with our Architect. If they double block, we can plow one of the guys and pay it for a daze. They have another Force of Will blue card, and sure. So we can either play out our Canonist or we can hold up the Plow and Wasteland. I think I'd rather hold up the Plow and Wasteland because if our opponent gets something good here with the Reclaimer, it will come in tapped and we can just Wasteland it. So kind of incentivized to get something more like baity. Oh, they're just besaging our guy. Sure, I'll take a free land, I suppose. I'd rather have had my 3/4 guy, but such is life sometimes. Exiling the Paragon. I don't really care about that. I can plow their guy if it becomes necessary at some point. We could have wastelanded him at the end there when they were tapped out. I'm just curious what this Reclaimer is looking for. Means they've definitely got some juicier targets potentially. So now tapped out, I could probably blow up their thing. So we don't really want to kill either of these. We can't really kill either of these through blocks. So we're kind of in Plowtown. If we wasteland them away, this becomes 3/4, which again is awkward for us, but then again it can plow. It can do that sort of stuff anyway. If we target this guy, they draw a card. I think we're in a horrible situation where we have to target the Ooze here. Purely because the Ooze is going to grow and kill us a lot quicker. I don't like it, but I think it's necessary to do. And then we just take the 3 this turn. We can throw the Spirit in front of it at a later date if we need to, or if they have something bigger. We don't need to wasteland in a turn, we can do it in our turn, because if we draw a Grindstone... Soul Guide Lantern. Sure, we'll play this, and we'll get rid of their Besage in case they're a Life from Loam deck. We don't want them to recur the thing that blows up all of our key permanents. Now, we can draw a card here. Now, our opponent's deck is probably an Euro deck. So we could draw a card, or we could just play our Canonist, which, again, doesn't trade that favourably with what's going on here. I think we're probably just playing out Plains and a Canonist. And we can hold up the Wasteland. So we can take them off of a number of mana sources by wastelanding them now. Or we can hold up to see what the Reclaimer's trying to do. I don't know if our opponent's like a Cradle deck. They could be. Can't take them off of blue or green. We can take them off of blue. We can't take them off of green. So we have to hit the drop card. Yep, you get to draw a card with your Leovold. But we're just trying to set you back because we just need to keep you off balance long enough to find a Grindstone. It's a grim situation we're in. But we have the Soul Guide Lantern so we can stop the Elvish Reclaimer from being large. We can put a bunch of guys in front of the Leovold if necessary. We can put these two under the Leovold maybe. Okay, so this is the only spell our opponent's casting this turn because of the Canonist. Unless they find like Baleful Strix, they can probably cast that. So if they attack, we can guarantee the kill on the Leovold by putting the guy under it. So now we have a choice of if we draw a card or not. Each opponent can draw, let's just check. Each opponent can't draw more than one card each turn. So if we draw a card now, that's fine because we haven't drawn a card this turn. Fiddlebender. Okay, so that can find us the rest of our combo. And Urza Saga, that can also find us the rest of our combo. So we kind of got two bits and pieces going on here. We need to survive another turn and we can use our Ancient Den to become a Grindstone next turn. If that doesn't work, we can then... Okay, so we got the Yorion out of our opponent's hand that we knew they had. But we do have the Urza Saga ticking down. So once that hits 3, we can get a bit of value off of the guys, and they're going to be a reasonable size. This turn they do get to get something like a Cradle, perhaps. Oh, Wasteland. Okay, so we're losing our Saga. Sure. Like, we're still on for drawing a Grindstone. We can draw more Oswalds. What's this? An Uro. So this is their win condition. There goes the boy. A 3/4. We can take the 3. Don't care too much about that right now. Okay. See what we draw. A Mother of Runes. So this will help in the future. It can also help us block and stay alive to draw some more turns. We have an Ancient Den in hand that I'm going to keep in hand for now. So our opponent might think we've got a trick. And we're not drawing 2 cards in a turn anyway. So we can always deploy this if we draw another land. So our opponent will think we're sandbagging something. A Brainstorm. So this is the only spell our opponent's casting this turn. What we can do on the next turn, if they attack with this guy, we can block with a bunch of guys and then Mother of Runes the front one, if it's the Painter, and just soak up all this damage. But I think they've forgotten that I have a Ethersworn Canonist in play. Sure, we'll take the 3 here. Next turn we can start Mother of Runesing. It's a bit awkward having to use it to block with, but if they don't have a removal spell, if they have a removal spell now, they'll use it on the Mother of Runes. That's the general rule. Or they could be expecting us to try and block favourably using the Mother of Runes and then catch something else out. But if they have anything they really want to destroy, they should have used it on their turn. They could do an upkeep here, but our Mother is live now. A Kaldra Compleat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll play this out now in case we draw an Ancient Tomb. And then we don't really get to do anything else this turn, so we're just going to pass. But now we can block and prevent damage with a Mother of Runes. There's an Uro. That's a very fine creature to block with and then use the Mother of Runes to prevent damage. No attacks into the Mother of Runes, sure. So this is still going to attack them and draw them cards and gain them life. So that's certainly a problem we'll have to contend with. Okay, so we've drawn a card we wanted to draw. Does our opponent have another Force of Will? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can I Kaldra, please? They do have another Force of Will. So we got an extra Uro out of their hand, which probably wasn't doing much anyway. And we took 2 damage for the pleasure. We're now in this situation where we're just letting our opponent accrue a whole bunch of resources while we try to grindstone them out by drawing one of our ways of grindstoning. Okay, so the triple attack is pretty good here. A Dark Depths. Okay, wasn't expecting to see that. So these 2 can trade with this guy. This can go here. And this guy can go and get pro blue. So he takes 3 damage this turn. We do hopefully get this Leovold off the board. I'm going to play an Evasive Threat. I'm just going to play another Leovold. A Grist. Sure. So this probably... Oh, okay, they want to kill the Mother of Runes by the looks of it. Or they're going to kill the Painter. Okay, they're going to kill the Painter now. So that kind of loses our outs there. Pretty sure this game is over and done with. Not sure what sort of monumentous draw we can be hoping for. A Plains is not it though. I think we can just concede this one and save our time. We could try and run our opponent's clock down, but I can't bother. Okay, so what do we want in this matchup? Our opponent has a surprisingly large number of creatures. So our Source Plowshares are looking alright here, and our Spirit of the Labyrinths are going to be pretty reasonable, I would assume. It's going to stop all their cantrips and things. These options you want. They're a Reclaimer decks. They're probably going to have Karakas, so we don't really want these Fiddlebenders. The Shadowspear is probably going to be useful, Pithing Needle can name things like Elvish Reclaimer, so I think we probably want to keep that one in. The Canonist does stop them casting like multiple spells and cantripping into things. I'm not sure how useful the Portable Hole is, but because they're a Greenstone Zenith deck, we need to keep it in case they have the Collector Roof. So we need that answer. Is the combo going to be a good way of winning, or are we going to be grinding? If we're going to be grinding, we want to trim on some of these. So this is 58 cards. We can have 2 cards back in here. So we could have these Canonists, or we could board in Painter and something like an Oswald, or we could have this Batterskull, which I quite like for grinding. I think that's probably the best way of doing this. Oh, I'm very tired. All right. I think this is the last game, the last round of the night, actually. This is match 5, isn't it? Okay, so let's see if we can... That means we're on a 1 and 3 so far. So 2 and 3 is what we're playing for. So the Restoration of Eiganjo is a good card. We have the combo in hand. We have a Stoneforge Mystic, and we have a Spirit Labyrinth. So I think we can keep all of these. We are a little bit cold to Wasteland, but our opponent is a 3-colour deck. So the amount of Wastelands they have is probably limited to 1 or 2 with the Elvish Reclaimer to find them. With that in mind, am I supposed to play out the Saga first? This also does let us combo on 3, so I think we play out the Saga first. Because if they Wasteland our white source, we're going to lose the game. So we can see what our opponent deploys and how we want to approach the next turn. We can play out the Painter, or we can play out the Stoneforge. I quite like Stoneforge into... I quite like Painter into Restoration here as a plan. But I also quite like Stoneforge into Restoration as a plan. And I quite like Spirit of the Labyrinth into Restoration as a plan. Lots of nice looking plans. Let's try the Stoneforge one out, actually. I think we're going to play the fairer side of the deck and then combo them once their resources are down. I think that's a better way of doing it. Okay, they're looking for a Force of Will for our Stoneforge. So not only are they doing that, but they're making their Brainstorm a lot worse because they're going to have to keep one of those cards. So it's not going to fix their hand. They might have to keep both of them depending on what lands they have in hand. Okay. It's got Force of Will, pitching a Brainstorm. Sure. So we've got 2 Brainstorms and a Force of Will off of that Stoneforge Mystic. And then next turn we can play Restoration of Eiganjo. So that's going to be pretty tasty, hopefully. Collector Roof. Sure. So we're going to float off of this. What do we want here? What do we want here? We only have 1 Grindstone in our deck, but I don't think our opponent can exile it. I think we'll take the Grindstone. And then we'll play out our Ezra Saga here. And play out our Restoration. Oh wait, we can't because of the Ancient Den. Oh dear. I forgot about that. Oh no. That was a horrible misstep. What am I doing? Okay, so this is going to name white. Oh god, what am I doing? That was a horrible misstep. We play out the Horizon Canopy. Well, we played out the Ancient Den last turn actually, didn't we? So what am I talking about? Yeah, well, I don't think we just get to do that. So I'm going to take out our Saga here. Yeah, I think we're going to lose this Collector Roof unless we draw one of our answers to it. No, that's sorry, that wasn't a misstep. I had the Ancient Den in play already. Yikes, it's going to be a tricky one to come back from, but we've got some tools to do it if we can find some mana. A basic plains would be lovely right about now. That is not basic plains. So we have a choice here. We can play out this Horizon Canopy and get it wastelanded, or we can hold it in hand. Now, I think holding it in hand is the correct play. Not a difficult play to make, but a sad one because it means our opponent gets to just kind of do their thing and we do nothing here. Okay, so our opponent dredged the Life from Malone and they dredged a Natural Order. Okay, so they're like one of these like Newton Elves style decks maybe, but with like counter spells and Uro. That seems alright. There's the Wasteland. They can take our Ancient Den if they want to. It's not tapping for mana. It is an artifact which could be useful for Metalcraft, so I think it's correct for them to hit it there. Although if we have Mox, it's going to be Metalcraft anyway. But they've got a Life from the Loam engine, so it's basically free to do this. Okay, so now we can make a play. We can tap this for green because they're Yavimaya. We can play this out and name Wasteland. Now, because our opponent's been dredging, they're unlikely to have the Force of Will there. So, okay, so we need to find like an Ancient Tomb, and then we can Restoration of Eiganjo, get ourselves another land, and then start getting our way into this game. And then we were just 1 removal spell off of milling our opponent out at that point. Now, they will be casting an Uro this turn probably, which is going to be a little bit annoying, but if we can find a land, we can Spirit the Labyrinth away their card advantage off of the Euro. But I suspect we are a little bit behind. Like, we've had 3 of our lands wastelanded, which is usually pretty hard for any deck to come back from, especially since they've been drawing additional cards using Life and Loam as a draw engine. So this is kind of weakness of the colourless deck, of having more colourless lands, but then again, we haven't actually drawn the things that wouldn't normally be in the white deck in terms of the land. So the Restoration, if we could have got that off earlier. So if we'd have played out the Horizon Canopy earlier, we didn't have that on turn 1, though, did we? I don't recall. I don't think we did. So we didn't really have an option to play that one out. So we can plough the Euro, or we can plough the Collector Roof. I don't think we're winning if the Euro gets to draw cards, so I think we just have to plough this now. I was thinking if they have a counter spell that isn't... So this will play into a Force of Negation. If I do it in their upkeep, it will play into Force of... So Force of Will will hit it either time. Force of Negation will only hit it in our turn. We haven't seen Force of Negation yet. I'm just trying to think if they run any other counter spells that we have to worry about. I don't think they do. So I think we do this in their upkeep. I think that's the correct time to do it. Now, that does mean our opponent might be able to cast a Brainstorm to look for more answers, potentially. They do have 5 cards in hand. So it's whether or not I want them to cantrip instant speed. But I think it's correct to play around the negation here. Okay, they had a Force of Will anyway, so it didn't matter when we cast it. We were never resolving it. Sure, so we got 3 turns left in this game, tops, I think. Life from the Loam, sure, you can get all your lands back. You can deploy them with Uro. If they have a Beseiju, Hercule's Recall. Yeah, that'll do it. I'm going to have no permanents in play. We'll just scoot this one up. It's not worth playing. So if our opponent didn't have the natural draw Collector Roof, I think we are probably fine because we get to Restoration of Eiganjo. That gets us a plane, so we are always ahead of the Wasteland. We can also get our combo going. But sometimes your opponent's going to draw their one-off Green Sun Zenith targets, and sometimes they're not. I'm pretty sure they didn't Green Sun Zenith for it, actually. Yeah, they didn't Green Sun Zenith for it. They just had it naturally. So it's a little bit unfortunate. The Restoration of Eiganjo is supposed to help with things like that because it goes and gets you your basic planes to work with, but that was not the case today. So we're back looking at the deck. So we were doing a lot of experiments today. We weren't expecting to have a great result. You know, we were expecting to see if we could get a positive record for it. Like a 3-2 would have been a good result for someone that's trying out a lot of new stuff, especially in a meta that is quite hostile to white painter, which is why we're trying the new stuff anyway. And what did we learn today? Well, we got a 1-4 record, which is abysmal, and we got a little bit unlucky on some of the games, but I don't think it was enough to say that, oh, the only reason we went 1-4 is because we got unlucky. I don't think the deck has what it needs to have, to be honest. So the Restoration of Eiganjo, I thought it looked pretty good in this matchup, and the Serra Paragon was also a really good grinding engine. However, sometimes our mana base was a little bit stumbly and caused us to mulligan a bit more often than maybe we would have liked, which is certainly an issue. And we didn't really play to the board that much because Restoration doesn't give you a creature straight away. That's one of the drawbacks of it. Like, it does let you cast a 2-drop on the second turn it's in play, effectively, without counter magic, which is something. And we're sometimes doing things, but we're having turns where we're thinking, are we casting the Mystic? Are we casting the Eiganjo? And like the Eiganjo is something you tend to want to cast afterwards for the most part, I think. So that was a good learning of how that card is best deployed. But the sad truth, I think, is that when it comes to playing white creature plans, the initiative is just so much better than every other fair deck at deploying creatures and winning the game with them. And it's so much more difficult to disrupt than what we're doing that it's not really worth playing some sort of white painter deck like this with any sort of fair plan. And we tried to sort of see if we could, you know, accelerate things out and, you know, have these ancient tombs to try and accelerate our combo. And in one game that worked really well against the initiative deck. But I'm just talking about in general as well. Like, I don't know if this deck, which I have in paper and foil, is actually viable anymore due to the initiative. It gives me another reason to dislike that deck, I suppose. But like, if you're talking about like Stoneforge Mystic, is like, so Stoneforge Mystic used to be a really solid creature plan in Legacy. Like, you could play a Stoneforge Mystic and it would demand an answer and could like run away with the game relatively well. And you sometimes just get 2-for-1s off of it quite easily. But now, Stoneforge Mystic against Initiative is not good enough. And against decks that are planning for Initiative, it's much easier for them to deal with the Stoneforge Mystics as well, because we're getting splash hate from people going, oh, okay, one of the most played decks in the format is a deck full of creatures. Let's pack a load of removal and stuff. So we're kind of getting hit by some of that, which just means that we don't have the tools in this deck to approach the meta in a way I like. Now, I know there's still some people in the Paint Discord playing White Painter. I know Eddie the Intern, who was the main innovator of the deck in the first place, is still playing a build with the Ingenious Smith. So it's more like trying to dig and find the combo stuff. And I think he's running Ensnaring Bridge now to help against aggressive matchups, like the Initiative. And I think that is probably where the deck has to go now. I've tried to push the sort of fairer end of the fairer game plan here of the Painter deck as much as I could, like adding in these little grindy things that can also accelerate us out and sort of help the combo a little bit, but also, you know, do some other stuff. So I've tried to see how far we can push that to see if we can live up to where the meta is right now. And I don't think it's possible with... this is obviously not an optimal configuration of that sort of fair thing, but we tried exploring the tools, and the tools feels okay, but I don't think they feel good enough to reliably beat something like Initiative. And if you can't reliably beat Initiative, you probably shouldn't be playing your deck at the moment. Like, you basically have to... The format at the moment is Delver decks, the Initiative, and then, like, combo-y decks, pretty much, that can kind of go under the Initiative. They get a bit disrupted by Delver. So, you know, there's a few decks out there that can beat the Delver decks or whatever as well. You know, there's a few little niche decks popping around. Like Red Painter is quite good, which I'm going to come on to in a second. So I think we don't really have the tools with this deck to play in the meta anymore. Now, I will play the more dedicated combo build at some point, where it's, you know, you're running Ingenious Smith instead of Stoneforge Mystics. You've got your Ensnaring Bridge, so you're more of a shields up type deck instead of trying to, you know, deploy a game plan that can win outside. So that, you know, that deck can sometimes win with Urza's Saga and stuff, but most of the time you're going to try and combo them off. Whereas with this sort of build, it's sort of like 50-50. Now, with that, trying to play the combo-y White Painter, the question then for me becomes, why are you playing the White Painter deck when you could be playing the Red Painter deck if you're trying to combo people? Because the Red Painter deck is significantly better and more reliable at comboing. So it has more tutors for its pieces. So instead of playing Ingenious Smith to look at 4 cards, you cast Goblin Engineer and put the exact card you want into a zone that you can interact with in your graveyard. So I think if you want to be playing Painter combo, I don't know why you would be playing the white version, which really pains me to say because I love this deck, and I've said several times I've had it in foil in paper. So I will converse with the Painter Discord people and try and find the best sort of combo-y version of White Painter to play at some point later in the month, probably, just to have a little last around and see if I can make that work. But otherwise, I think Painter has to go in other directions. Now, I don't think that direction is solely going towards Red Painter. I've got some other ideas that I think will be pretty good, actually. So we're going to try those out at some point. Maybe later in the week, but definitely later in the month. I've got a list that's sort of slowly tinkering with when I get time that I think is a different colour of Painter and a sort of different approach that might be quite useful looking at where the meta is now. And I think it has the tools to beat some of the sort of problem-y matchups. So we're going to give that a whirl. Now, as for this, I'm probably going to have to put it on a shelf for a little while. I don't think GrindStoneForge Painter... So if you're not unfamiliar with the White Painter decks, the Plumber deck is the Ingenious Smith Painter version, and then the GrindStoneForge is the Stoneforge Mystic version. I just don't think GrindStoneForge is a playable deck in Legacy anymore, which is a shame because a few months ago it was pretty good, and I happily took it to high-level tournaments, but now I don't think I can do that, which is a shame, but things can shift in the meta, decks can come in and out, and that's kind of where you're at. It's a bit shame in Legacy because you expect the churn to be a little bit slower and, you know, things to change a little bit slower, whereas obviously we've just had this mechanic design for a different game in terms of Commander been sort of thrown at us that's completely dropped a bomb in the meta that we're kind of all dealing with. But yeah, sadly my analysis of this deck is that you shouldn't play it, which is a little bit sad. All right, sorry to start the new year off in a bit of a downer, but we've got lots of cool decks lined up to play, so I hope you're looking forward to them. And I hope you have hit that subscribe button already. And if you haven't, why not hit it? Likes, comments, do those too. I like to see what you want to see in this coming year. So I'm hoping that I might be getting monetized in the next sort of month or two. So if you can help me make that happen by sharing my content, that'd be really good. And I want to see what decks you want me to play. I've already got a couple of requests in the queue. So just, you know, post in the comments, tell me what you want to see me play. Or weird cards you want me to build around. I may not be able to, but you can at least ask, right? All right, so we are done for today, and I'm going to bed. It's like 1:30 for me, and I'm still very tired from Christmas because it's Boxing Day for me when I'm recording this, I think. All right, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.